everyone, it's me, Lindsay, with EquipMeOT, here today to talk about how to prepare for a hip replacement surgery. Now, for those of you who are receiving your hip replacement upcoming, this video is going to give you a bunch of preparatory things that can really make your recovery process easier. So one thing I want to mention is there's multiple different approaches for hip replacements, which are all going to have slightly different surgical recovery recommendations. I very strongly suggest that you listen entirely to your surgeon and do whatever they say for your recovery to make it the safest, best recovery possible. The techniques I'm going to show today are all going to work for the most conservative approach. So if you have less conservative precautions, you may still be able to benefit from some of these techniques, but you may not have to. So just know what your options are and know what your surgeon recommends. Okay, so let's start with tip number 1. There's going to be 10 total, so make sure you stay through the whole thing because it's a lot of information. First tip is just knowing the vehicle you're going to be transported in. Following a hip procedure, oftentimes you're going to have 90-degree bending restrictions, which means that the hip cannot bend beyond 90 degrees, which is problematic if you have a low car. I've had many folks have problems because they get a sedan to pick them up from their surgery. That's not going to be a safe option for most people. So I suggest a taller vehicle, something like this. This is our minivan. Don't mind it's dirty. It's the middle of winter here in Michigan. We can't keep it clean. But having something with a higher seat like this, and what you want to test is when you come to the seat and you back up to it, that when your backside hits the seat, your hips are now above your knees. Okay, so when you sit, your hips need to stay above your knees. That's going to be the key to identifying the right height seat for you. So just make sure you have that prepared before you go home. The next thing I recommend to all surgical recovery, especially lower body surgery, is to have something for your seat to reduce friction. I like either a garbage bag, or if you have something a little bit more designed for this process, this is called a tubular draw sheet. Either is a great way to help with that pivoting on the seat following that initial sit down and swing over into the car. Having that there can make it so much more comfortable in that initial transfer. So there you go, 2 tips right off the bat. Let's talk about our third tip. Third tip is going to be getting into the house. I want you to take some time before your surgery and prepare yourself for where you're going to enter and exit your house from. So let's follow me. So tip number 3 is know how you're going to enter and exit your home. It's the dead of winter here in Michigan. If I was having surgery, I'd want to come in and out through the garage so I could avoid ice and snow. And in that case, I would want to make sure I have entrance access through my garage. I have a platform here that does fit my walker. This may not be the case for everybody, so make sure if you're going to be coming home with a walker, which most of you will, that you have enough room to be able to actually fit your walker through to the spaces in your home that you're going to be accessing. So I can come up through here and I can actually enter my house. Knowing this ahead of time can save you so many headaches because a lot of people come home and realize my walker doesn't fit. So make sure that your walker and your entrance are compatible. All right, for tip number 4, pretty much essential to have a riser on the toilet. So this toilet is a very low toilet and we have a Kohler Heighten riser on it, which is my favorite riser, easy to clean, very, very comfortable to sit on, and it's going to add the height necessary to be able to safely sit after a hip replacement. So if I come up to this toilet, and tip number 5, I've installed these armrests, which again, I love because these flip out of the way. They're super, super convenient because now I can do this. I can kick my hip out, keep my 90-degree hip precaution intact as I lower myself down to be able to use the toilet safely. This is so incredibly important before you have surgery to have this set up, because it's nothing worse than having an unsafe toilet transfer immediately upon arriving home. So raise that toilet, add those armrests, you won't regret it. All right, so now we find ourselves in the shower space, planning out how you're going to be able to execute showers following your hip replacement. This is going to be a few tips all rolled in. So first things first, you're going to need a seat. Most people within a week or 2 are standing for their entire shower, but usually there's some portion of the shower that you're going to sit for pure comfort or just because you're tired. But also, if you have a large height tub shower combo like I do here, having a seat like this, which is called a tub transfer bench, is super, super important for safety because getting up and over these tall edges is where a lot of people experience accidental trips and falls. So I strongly recommend a tub transfer bench for this process. So let's go ahead and do the tub transfer. I'm going to kick my leg out. I have this nice handle here to grab. I've been able to keep that hip precaution in place. Now I can move my walker out of the way and we're going to slide in. Once we're in here, I can bring my leg around and I'll show you the other things I want to have in place. First things first, something with a long handle. You may receive a hip kit when you go to have your surgical prep meeting or class, or you may get it in the hospital and they may have something like this in there, but having a long handle is super important so that you can wash your lower legs and feet. I also very strongly recommend for anybody who's going to be seated in the shower or recovering with a surgical incision is a handheld shower head. So I have my handheld shower head nice and low mounted so that I have access to it and can really control how the water is getting on me, because there's going to be certain restrictions to how much soaking you can do initially of that wound and incision. But that first shower feels so, so good. So I just want to make sure that you have all of these excellent things in place to make sure that that experience is as positive as possible. All right, so last but not least, where you're going to rest. You want to make sure you have your bed set up to make sure you have the most comfortable rest position possible, as well as the most successful, because rest is so important in the recovery process. So let me show you the first tip for your bed, and that is actually a leg lifter. I think leg lifters are an essential tool for a hip replacement recovery, because initially those muscles are going to be so tender, so sore, and very weak. So you're going to want something to help lift that leg up and down into bed without having to strain excessively. So let me show you how this one works. I really like this one. It has a few extra grab points and features. Like all the products, they'll be listed down below, but you have to be able to loop underneath the foot of the leg that has been surgically altered, and then you're going to use that to help pivot that leg up and into bed. So much easier than trying to do that with your own muscle strength initially. I'm also going to use the leg lifter for my other tip here, and that is having a wedge in place. So having a wedge that you can use depending on the height you need. This one has 2 different heights on it, so you can kind of adjust it based on how much swelling and what your comfort is. But being able to get that leg, well, I always said I was going to use the leg lifter, I better do it. You can lift that leg up onto the wedge to get it elevated. Having an elevation solution for those early recovery windows are vital for getting this swelling out so that you can start to feel more comfortable, speed up that muscle recovery, all of those aspects. So elevation is so, so essential. I like a wedge because it's simple, but you could use pillows also. So some sort of solution for elevating that leg during the recovery window. And last but not least, a reacher. Now, I will say this, you'll probably receive a reacher with your hip kit if you get one, but I strongly recommend having more than one. This may be here in bed with me because I'm going to use it for things like grabbing my sheets to pull up over my legs, or reaching for something over here that's out of the way, or picking something up off the floor. You can use these for dressing, you can use these for picking up incidentals, whatever it may be. Having a few good reachers around will make your hip replacement recovery so much easier. So go ahead and stock up ahead of time. You'll use these after your hip replacement recovery because they're just so darn useful. So there you have it, a whole bunch of tips and tricks for how to recover from your hip replacement as you prepare. So if you've been watching this video, congratulations, you are going to do great on your recovery. If you want more detailed videos about any of these topics, like sleeping or getting dressed or showering or bathing or using the toilet, check out the playlist I'm going to link down below, where I have videos that outline the more specific details of those recovery needs. If you have any other questions about other recoveries or just want to comment on this video, do that down below. I would love to hear from you. And if you need more information like this on how to stay safe and independent in your home and community, consider subscribing to EquipMeOT. Thank you.